You have 11 on this, the long side, and 5 on the short side. And that is including the guys on point here on the corners. So once I get this done, I'm going to twine for a couple rows using number 3 rounds. You can go 3 or 4 rows if you want, but you don't really need to. All you're trying to do is anchor these guys in. The biggest thing that I do once I get ready to start weaving, after I get these in the slots, is I spray these stakes. Now, when I say spray, I don't mean slopping. Just lightly sprayed, and what that does is it starts helping the stakes expand, and then they stay in the slot better when you're trying to weave those first couple rows. Any kind of a basket when you first start tends to be a little bit cumbersome, but then once you get your 3 rows in, it's pretty much all downhill after that. Alright, so I'm just checking to make sure I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on that side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on this side, and 5 on both of those. A lot of times I'll put a spoke weight on there to start out, just to kind of hold it until I get my twining done. So I'm taking a long piece of number 3 and I'm doubling it over. It doesn't matter where you start, just start behind one of them. Oh, I said I was going to spray that, didn't I? So I'm going to go ahead and come around here and spray this, and that'll start. I always use warm water, and I'm gonna start twining. Now this is just a straight up twine in front of one, behind one. We'll get into some other types of twining in other baskets. So this is just gonna go around this twice, and you're wanting to keep that just as close as you can. And some of these will be looser than others because some of them are thinner than others. So you always want a long weaver to start, but sometimes things happen and they bust, or maybe they weren't long enough to begin with. And this guy did bust, so that's a good thing because I can show you how you add on. So I'm coming around here, and you notice this one weaver of mine is getting a little short. And I will show you how to add on. So that guy's getting a little short. I'm going to take my other piece here, and I'm going to lift up the dogtail and stick in the thermometer. You will never forget it. Let me show it to you again. I'm going to lift up the dogtail, which is that last piece, stick in the thermometer so it's butted up against it, and then I just take off. So this little twinger here will go away later. So I'm coming around the other end there, and I'm going to go around one more time, and then I'm going to lock this in. And then I'm going to start on the base. So you don't really upset stakes on a basket that has a wooden base, but you do start coming up just as soon as you get these guys anchored. So this is a start, stop, weave, which is plain weave, over and under, but every row is one unto itself, and there is a way to make your starts and stops not show, and I'll show you that. We've got another little patch job we're going to have to do here. So once again, I am going to take the dogtail back and stick in the thermometer so that's butted up against each other. And it doesn't matter if you're doing a twined basket or a bicycle shopper, anything that's using a twining technique. That is how, or one of the ways, that you can start a new weaver. So once again, I got to pull that dogtail back, and stick in the thermometer, and that busted on me. So actually I'm going to back that up just a little bit more. There's absolutely nothing wrong with backing something up. Pull the dog tail back, stick in the thermometer, and then with that new weaver, you go again. And when you're twining, there's a chase weave and there's a twine. A twine will always have a cross or an X in between each stake. If you don't, then you're doing a chase weave. And there's a time and place for that too, but it's not particularly on this basket at this particular moment. A twine holds better than chase weave. And for our particular purposes, this is what we're going to use on the bottom of the basket. Okay, so now the other thing I want to show you is how to lock in the twining on these. So I'm going to come around here to the end. And notice I make it squeak. I always tell my students you want to make it cry out in pain. Okay, so there I'm at my last stroke. That way I have 2 on that stake. And I'm going to come up here to the beginning. I'm going to cut these guys short. And I'm going to lock these in so they don't come undone. So on that first stroke, I take my weave right, open it up just a little bit, and tuck that tail underneath that first stroke, pull it through there and pull tight. And then I'll do the same thing with the second one on the next stake. Okay, so that is now locked. So I am a lap weaver. You see we got all sorts of twangers here. We'll trim those off later. But for purposes on the video, we're going to be weaving on the desk. So I'm going to start off with some 1/2 inch smoked. And once again, you want the rough side to the inside of the basket. You always, in this particular basket, start on a dyed stake, because the first row weaving you want to catch the corners on the outside of the basket, on the outside of the weave. So you notice that I put a clip on there. First 3 rows are always kind of a pain, and what I do is I put a clip on each side that I'm weaving on, and I'm starting to have gravity and pressure from holding the basket on the table to bend those stakes over and start helping me out making that basket go up. So on your corner, you want to make sure that you don't go in too much. That's probably the biggest error that happens in this type of basket, is that you pull too tight on the corners, and then it starts the basket coming in, and whichever way you tell the basket to go is the way it's going to weave up. So if you look at a bowl or a cup or a saucer, you'll see that it always flares out. So on my corners, I make sure that I have given just a little bit, and it's, you can't tell so much on the first row, but on the second and third and consecutive rows you can. And I am going to show you a little cheat that I do to help strengthen those corners, and it helps with the shape as well. Okay, so start and stop basketry. That's where I started. Then I'm going to count 4 over. 1, 2, 3, 4, and make my cut. A good basket, you should not be able to tell where the beginning and the end of a row is. And that's how you do it. So that goes right on top of that. That covers up that first beginning, and this covers up the end. Alright, so I'm just going to resituate that clip for just a second, and then I'm going to turn this over. You always want to stagger your starts. You don't want to have bulk, because it starts throwing the shape of the basket. So this time I'll start opposite of that on top of a natural, and I'll move my clip over. I'm going to do 3 of these, and then I am going to strengthen my corners a little bit by adding some 3/8 to them. So bear with me as I do these up. And once again, what I do, at least till I get about 4 or 5 rows on, is I use these clips. Once it starts going my way, I don't really need to. And I'm checking my corner to make sure it's not coming in. That corner looks good. And also what's going to happen once I've got 3 rows on here is I'm going to put on that overlay on the natural stakes that I've got here. Kind of jazzes it up a little bit. And this particular design has black overlay. So, and you notice that when I'm bringing this down, I'm shoving these in. You don't want to pull them because it'll pull them out. And here I am on that corner again. Leave this and then check that corner and make sure it's right where I want it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to come around. And once again, this is start and stop basketry. So I'm going to come around that corner and then I'm going to count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put that clip back on there so you can't tell the start or the ending, but there is bulk there. So I'm going to turn it back over. In my first row, this is where my overlap was. So this time, I'm going to start it over here. This makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so the other thing I always want to do is make sure that my stakes are straight up and down. You don't want to get them too close to one another, because then when you try to weave in between them, there's no room. So, and they do tend to wander around, so you kind of corral them a little bit and say, oh, you, straight up and down. Okay, so once again, I'm on that corner, and I'm going to pull that out just a little bit. This is how I want that corner to look. I'm always checking my corners when I'm weaving. See that kind of pull that in? I'm going to pull it back out again. And it may be just like a 1/4 inch that you pulled it out, but it makes a difference in the basket. So like right there, that's in too far. I need to pull that out a little bit. And I'm pretty good at, if something's too loose, sucking it back up. But I haven't figured out how to make things grow when I've done them too. I don't know where that's coming from. When it's too small. Okay, so this is going to be our 3rd one, and then we're going to put those overlays in. And we are also going to put in those 3/8 oval to kind of strengthen up the corners some and make it a little bit easier for us on the shaping of our corners. And then with the 3/8, you can either leave it in 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to trim that up a little bit in the basket, or you can take it out. I usually just leave mine in when I get it woven up. It just makes it a little stronger basket. Okay. So there's my first 3. That's usually the hardest part of the whole basket. And then these are black overlays. I'm going to go around and put those in. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 3/8 oval, and I'm going to put them on the corners. And I'm going to show you that